So what are we going to talk about this week? I think we're going to talk about the greatest carnival ride ever. Pricey, but let's get to it. Hey, welcome back to the show. The greatest carnival ride ever. Inspiration for SpaceX's launch has to be the best carnival ride ever. It took a lot of those little tickets that you have to buy to get there, about $450,000 for each seat, but 4 civilians took off in a rocket, enjoyed the ride, went 80 miles higher than the International Space Station, and then after 3 days cruising around the planet, had an uneventful, thankfully uneventful, return to the Earth. Wow! Hey, if you can afford it, it's a pretty cool gig. The event, although it might have looked like a carnival ride, is pretty darn important. The mission was far more ambitious than anything we've seen out of Blue Origin or Virgin Galactic this summer. They were pretty much suborbital missions. These are light years ahead of them, and they're light years ahead of Boeing, who has yet to send anyone into space. And we're sending civilians who don't have to touch anything. Just look out the window. It shows the courage that ordinary people have to advance and build our future in space. It is absolutely amazing. And if you want to make something normal and routine, this was one of the best ways to do it. A normal, routine flight to space. These events are taking place in advance of the FAA re-looking at certification, though, and how they regulate space operations. The FAA currently deals with environmental issues and safety of people on the ground if something goes wrong. They do not regulate the aircraft or the spaceship itself. So they're not really worried about yet the safety of those in-flight participants. So you get a little ticket, but I imagine the disclosure you have to sign is pretty hefty. This will be all up for discussion in the next couple of years, and K Street will be busy. On a side note, there's some other very important stuff going on outside of Inspiration 4, or inside of Inspiration 4. They brought a ukulele from Martin Guitars. I own a Martin, so that's pretty cool. And 66 pounds of hops for Samuel Adams, which is the official beer of Inspiration 4. Get ready for the party. Hey, and flying in space isn't about civilian these days. Let's not forget the professionals that are also exploring space and handling experiments and studies that are super important. NASA astronaut Mark Vande Hei, he's a professional, got to his stay aboard the International Space Station, he probably saw Inspiration 4 go by, extended to 353 days. That'll be the longest spaceflight ever recorded by an American. And he has the best zoom background of all of us. Hey look, didn't NASA just make a single award to SpaceX for the human landing system? Well, right after they awarded it, you know, we're going through all that protest mumbo jumbo and all kinds of other drama. NASA awarded $164 million to 5 companies for a lunar lander design to help facilitate regular manned missions to the moon. And it includes Blue Origin, surprise! Dynetics, another former human landing system participant, surprise! Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and SpaceX again, who's even going to get some money out of this. I can't figure out what the difference is between that award and the SpaceX award on the human landing system, other than NASA's ensuring that it keeps its industrial base healthy, and that is a really good idea, and is not something the FAA actually worries about, but they should. That's a recommendation. Hey, we all purchased tickets during the pandemic with high hopes that it was going to return to normal really soon, and then we were going to go travel, prices were cheap, and that idea evaporated if you tried to get your money back. Didn't happen. The operative word is you tried to get your money back. It did not happen. You probably got a great credit and now still have a bunch of credits. But DOT released a report addressing the failures of airlines to provide timely refunds for flights that were canceled or significantly changed as a result of the pandemic. Airlines and ticket agents have a legal obligation to refund your money. I didn't know that because I'm sitting on these credits now. However, early in the month, significant volume of cancellations, stuff like that. It just didn't happen. And they were reluctant to give you your money back, that's for sure. So how bad was it? That's what the DOT report's all about. So let's set the baseline. In 2019, there were about 15,000 overall complaints on airlines and about 1,500 about refunds of airline tickets. And complaints were even trending down over the last 5 years. Pretty good. Then, boom! 102,000 complaints and 89,000 of them were about refunds in 2020. That doesn't seem like anything slowing down. Even 2021, there's 22,000 complaints overall and 16,000 are about refunds. Foreign carriers were the worst. 58% of the complaints. U.S. carriers, 24% of the complaints. And travel agencies, 18%. DOT is now pursuing enforcement action to get people's money back. And they're even increasing the complaint hotline, the staffing on the complaint hotline. Now that's at least a response. DOT also doesn't like some loopholes that airlines are using to keep the money. So expect some regulatory changes. So as long as we're looking at regulatory changes for that, let's talk about overbooking flights, shall we? Hey. Super strange alliance growing here. The European Organization for Civil Aviation Equipment, EUROCAE, and the U.S. Standards Agency, ASTM International, have signed a memorandum of understanding. That's not totally abnormal. The agreement fosters information and cooperation among standards organizations to help reduce duplicative efforts and promote harmonization globally in aviation. Great kind of idea. And these organizations have had a constructive relationship for many years. But the MOU bothers me a little bit as it focuses on areas of interest of UAS, UTM, runway friction, and eVTOL aircraft, and some more things. So ASTM, through these new entrant areas, has definitely increased its presence in aviation with UAS work, as opposed to organizations that we're more familiar with for traditional aviation like RTCA. It is, and I think that this kind of relationship with EUROCAE just starts to divide and create confusion with standards compliance. Who do you go to? Your standards organization of choice, the one that you got to manipulate, the one that you funded? Now that confusion is coupled regarding this MOU is that they're not going to overlap work. So if Europe does something and ASTM does something and then they just merge them together, does that mean we lean heavily more into European standards? I don't know. I'm just saying it should be clear that we're doing it for the global harmonization, not just a European harmonization, and it's easy. Certification definitions between FAA and Europe have been increasingly on the divide. The Boeing 737 MAX shows that. Not even all countries have decided to fly the MAX again yet. And the MOU is not going to help global harmonization and puts potentially the FAA at an increased disadvantage at a time when global harmonization for all these vehicles should be how we come together. Just kind of interesting, and I'm worried about it. Hey, artificial intelligence. Lots of conferences, lots of Zoom calls. Everybody wants to use AI. And, air navigation service providers face strong challenges. Maintain safety, reduce cost, handle pandemics, growing airspace capacity as traffic returns, and now throw on more and more environmental concerns, all put further pressures on complex airspace. But there's a company called Data Beacon. A Spanish company is betting on AI to be an assistance to controllers in the air traffic control system. They are introducing Victor 5. If you don't know that move, just check out last week's episode. It's an AI engine that can guide air traffic controllers through potential conflicts, all via a cloud infrastructure. They expect validation of operations in 2022, so it's got to be pretty ready to go. Victor 5 plans to use big data to ensure so it can pave the way to ensure that with massive amounts of data that it's giving proper assistance to air traffic controllers. Wow, it's pretty exciting stuff. Whether it works or not, that doesn't matter. This is going to be a great attempt to see how far we've come in the world of artificial intelligence in something as complex as air traffic control. It's supposed to recognize conflicts, non-conflicts, and propose separation in structures to ensure safety, minimize constraints, and minimize emissions. That's a big key. It's attacking the climate issue right from there. It's super bold. They plan on starting with supervisors first, planning positions. So it sounds a little bit like they're going to start with some kind of TFMS capability, and then they'll move to the controller position level. It's going to be something to watch, and if you're going to World ATM, they're going to probably be there. And maybe this should be something that could be considered for the FMDS architecture. You know, let's keep an open mind about it. Seems like the trend is to bring back the golden age of flight and make the in-flight experience special. Last week, we gained a few inches of legroom in the Rouge airline, and I thought that was pretty exciting. I thought that was really cool. And now Virgin Atlantic debuts their newest concept, a Sky Lounge. They call it the booth, and that's kind of what it looks like. It looks like a booth that you would find at Silver Diner or something. A small little table where you can sit with others and, you know, have a glass of wine or your drink of choice. Nice small little social area. Virgin calls this innovative. I suppose in some ways it is, because it certainly hasn't been the trend, but it does remind me of the throwback to the upper lounge in the 747 where you went up the spiral staircase and there is a bar. And the booth, you know, so it's not too innovative, but hey, let's go back to that golden age. It's going to be configured on Airbus 350s by the end of 21 to handle vacation destinations like the Caribbean and Orlando, not just, you know, the super long flights. So with less business travel, they're using the space wisely for, you know, for other purposes instead of just jamming people in. I mean, what will be next? Tablecloths? All right. Let me know what your favorite Carnival ride is down in the comments. Smash that like button if you like what you see. Hit subscribe. We'll talk to you next week.